He's got clout.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Microphone is now working. It is so good to be here. It is the Poetry Studio. This is stream 100. We've done this 100 days, not necessarily consecutively, but mostly so, at least since July, which is incredible. Wow, this has been really something. So grateful to everyone and everybody that has made this type of thing happen. It is really, really something. We had Steve here, and we have Twitch Hero Alex here as well. This is so awesome to be able to have you guys here. Really appreciate all the support that has come. It's just so fitting because it's like two amazing communities, the Akira the Dawn community and the disco community, Steve Disco Newsom's community, have just come together in a wonderful way to help push me over the edge before Stream 100 to be able to start working on that affiliate status. Still have bureaucratic issues, but that's perfectly fine. Today what we're going to do is we're going to do like as always, we're going to work on some cool poems. I'm probably going to work on the first real draft of the Salford poem for Claire, but we also we're going to kind of do a little bit of a best hits of some of the morning streams, older morning streams, streams from your. We had some regulars that used to be here, kind of around streams 40 to 60 that I haven't seen in a while. Maybe Relax Your Mind might come into the house today if he's if he's available. But we have some people that way back when, and some funny stories that I'll be sharing about the stream today, which will be wonderful and awesome. So thank you again so much for tuning in. And as always, we will start with poetry. When I started this stream, it was happening on my dining room table. It was still a 2-camera setup, but the whole table shook. The second camera was on a tripod that was really wobbly and would fall down all the time. I would have to take it down and put it back up every night. And it was just kind of this crazy idea. Let's see what it's like. Actually, that's not even true. The first stream started off on, in a different arrangement when I had my desk in here, and they were actually, I attempted to stream on YouTube. It was a total failure. That went nowhere. But I realized that I would just switch it over to Twitch. And even when I did the Twitch streams, there was I was streaming under the art category, which frankly was not very talkative and not very popular with a lot of people. So I realized I would try streaming out here and doing it on the Just Chatting channel and really just being able to talk with people and share stories and put those stories into poetry. And then at a certain point, I actually rearranged my entire office so that I could have a desk where I would sit behind it, and behind me would be the wall. Beforehand, it was the opposite. The background that I'm facing, if I look out that direction, I see my wife's desk, which is literally just a big pile of papers. So I needed something that was a good background, so I set this all up. And then I still had this issue where every time I typed on the typewriter would move. I didn't even have a typewriter mat. And so I would be typing on the typewriter, and then the typewriter would have moved all the way over, and I had to like drag the typewriter back. Oh, it was crazy how that developed. But that's all out there. The first 50 streams are available on Patreon, but then after that, everything just became public. And that's when things really started taking off, is I started kind of settling into just being a, just kind of doing a little bit more on the reading side, persevering with the art, connecting more with people on Twitch. That was around the time that Akira started rating people, and that was when I started discovering other communities like Disco's community, and just keeping at it, knowing that I was slowly but surely being able to build up my viewer count. I had a couple of tips and tricks that helped me kind of sustain that. Twitch here Alex started coming in on a regular basis, which really helped as well. And then the Disco crew rated, and now we're here. And it's just, such a history to be able to have been doing this and to put yourself out to something like that and to just throw it out there as an idea. For me, especially in those first few weeks when literally no one showed up and I was just streaming to the art section and nobody was there, it was a place where I wanted to record for history who I was and what I was doing and the art I was creating. And I am sure that even this stream, number 100, I'm going to look back on this 10 years from now and go, wow, look at that guy, trying to do poetry and starting off. I don't know where I will be, but it will be wonderful to be able to look back on something like this. All the streams are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, but also to remember what it was like during this pandemic to celebrate and create together and to be with people together. So checking out the chat. So thank you so much, Twitch here, Alex. I'm more than happy to swing by and support you, Walking Well Poet. You're great. Love you, buddy, and here to support. Love you too, man. This is awesome. And and Disco is going to be on, and I think Disco, you're going to be on later today. So if you're, for anybody that's lurking, to definitely check out Disco's stream today. And we also have, of course, Akira's stream as well. So I'm going to read a couple of poems, talk a little bit about the stories. I don't have all the poems that I've ever written on here. It's organizing poetry when you write poetry every day becomes such a bear. If I had a software like Akira's, if I could tag everything, one day I think I might shift over to that. It would make things so much easier. So this first poem I want to read is something that's really special to me, and I'll tell the story about it after the fact. Actually, I really wonder when my first stream was. When did I first upload something? We're gonna get a date on this. How long have I been streaming on this show? Slipmat.io. I will write that down. Yeah, something that I could just tag everything. Definitely something that I need. So if I go back in my videos, I'm now scrolling all the way back in my videos, all the way back to when. Oh, and I even did it outside at a certain point. I took a trip to New York and kept the stream going. Um, and for some reason, I do not have stream number 1. I have stream 2, which was uploaded. When was this uploaded? I can't see when this was uploaded. If I open it up on YouTube, maybe that'll tell me. Trying to figure out. It says 4 months ago, June 14th. July, August, September, October. 4 months, which is pretty good for the 100 streams. I mean, I wasn't doing it every day. I was doing it Monday to Saturday. At first I was doing it every day, and then like I was having trouble keeping it up, and I missed days, and it was such an exploration of discipline. But now we're here. This one comes from, and I don't actually know where some of those early poems are, but I can probably try to find them. And I didn't date everything. Oh, it's just a mess. This poem is called Rulebook. Pages on the mantelpiece, warm fire and warmer family, a pace of holding, growing, and waiting. What is our reality? The rulebook and its words, invented over years. The careful angles and equations charting the foundations of a society we never chose. I read the blueprint of sky-high dreams, skyscrapers climbing over the backs of thousands to touch the firmament, dangling precarious over beams of heavenly light. There is only one choice, one true choice. Stand girded with the foundations of our fathers, or climb. So, when I started this stream, I had not even gotten my business license yet. It was around early to middle June that I really decided that I was not going to be just a part-time poet, and I was going to commit to making this a business. I got my, this was all before this poem, I got my business license. It's hanging up on the wall back here. It's actually this gold thing, you can kind of see in the corner here. Started lining things up, and I realized that I was missing an element. An element was time. I was working 2, I guess you'd say, medium-level part-time jobs that were amounting to full-time work. And I was working those jobs, and I was scared to take the plunge and to try to make what I was doing with poetry into a business. Because, it's poetry. And so I woke up one morning, and I've been really grappling. I've been telling my wife I'm going to leave this one job. I don't know if I'm going to leave this job. I want to leave this job, like one of the 2 part-time jobs, so that I didn't totally go under. And that's still the way it is today. Believe it or not, I have 3 very small part-time jobs now, but they all amount to less time than what I do with the poetry, but it was used to be flipped. And I was telling her I'm going to leave. And then I woke up this morning, on July 24th, I dated the poem, and I wrote this poem about how we buy into rules of life. We say, oh, well, we do this, and this is how it's done. Because we're pattern recognition machines. We see something, and then we want to do that something. It's easy when there's a path. The road less traveled makes all the difference. And then I wrote this poem about how we need, that the rule book is actually, it sits there on the mantelpiece, it's important, but it's a fantasy. We can go outside those rules. I mean, it's one of those things that, when you think about it real deep, like traffic signals. Think about traffic signals. What's a traffic signal? It's a light with a law behind it. If you're on a lone dirt road and there's nobody around and you blast through a red light, I mean, you're taking a risk, but you can do that. And so it's like kind of the same thing when it comes to starting businesses, stepping out of the usual. Is yeah, you have a red light, blast through it. I wouldn't encourage that as a rule of golf for everything, but I don't want to encourage people to be breaking traffic laws from here to Britain. But that poem, I went in that day and then I left that job, and I realized I was ready to start committing more time to the poetry. Welcome in, Melinda Crass. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's 100th stream party celebration wonderment. So I'm reading some old poems and talking about the history of the stream. If you want a poem, have a request for a poem. If anybody in here has a request for a poem, let me know. I can write it. So that's what Rulebook is about. And the funny thing is that the way that I would end that story, even though it's a continuing story, will continue onwards, is that I recently ran into the fact that I was still doing that. I was still listening to the rule book. So what happened was I left my 2 part-time jobs. I had a big gap in hours. It was a little too much, so I tried to get another small part-time job, ended up getting 2 by accident. So I have a couple of small part-time jobs. And I still put those first. Last week I was putting those first. And I was putting those first because they were paid, and I know that I'm going to get money from those. I'm guaranteed. If I spend 4 hours emailing wedding planners to try to score a potential gig in my poetry business, I have no guaranteed return. I don't know if bread's on the table. But I realize that I have been doing it backwards still. So it's a constant learning and a constant growing. And for anybody that might be watching this now or after the fact that's thinking about starting their own business, that's okay, but you got to slowly continue to step into deeper waters. And that is what Rulebook's about. Now this next one, I'm not going to give it an introduction. I'm sad that the old crew wasn't able to make it in today. I never really actually reached out to them. I should have whispered, relax your mind, and the other people. But there was a long time where I didn't really have a lot of viewers. And Disco says, this is what I'm doing now. Wise words. And I agree. It's a payoff. It's funny how it happens. I was listening to one of the Akira the Dawn songs that was playing a lot in my life at that time was Take the Path That's Dangerous. And, there's a lot of risk, and sometimes there's failures. And sometimes, but what I always knew is I could always step back into the work world. I had contacts, I have friends, I know people, and I'm blessed to have that. Some people don't have that, and that's scary. But what really rung out to me was that if you take the dangerous path, there will be a payoff. At the very least, you will have the know that you have the courage that you took that journey. Because you're winning either way, even if something happens with your business and it's scary. So we'll see, because a lot of people are doing that now. We are all in some way forced into changing. For me, it wasn't that I was forced into changing as much. The pandemic just made things more real to me, because the pandemic is not a time to start an artistic business. I recently posted on Instagram about how I've been struggling a little bit with depression and anxiety, like the depression-anxiety matrix. And I was recounting it kind of with my therapist, and we were like, yeah, you're generally trying to start a family in the middle of a pandemic while also starting a business that's an artistic business that has no clear charted path. Of course I'm losing my mind a little bit, but that's okay, because I love the adventure. I love it. Now, when I started the stream, there was people would come in, I'd write a poem for them, and then they would be out. People would come in, write a poem for them, and then they'd be out. I've had a couple of people that have been like that over the time. They have returned, and I'm very grateful for anybody that stops by here. You stop by here once, I'm thankful. You stop by here 100 times, I'm thankful. But then we got a crew. We had this crew that came in, They said that they were from Norway, that they were from Afghanistan. And one of these guys said, I need you to write a poem about a very special dish at home that I eat with my family. It reminds me of my family. The title of this poem is called Grounded. The very aroma of home and its table, plenty with memories of mother's cooking, father's snoring, and sibling rivaling. To the table, the mystery mushroom majesty arrives. Skrungle beef fungus, creamy ooze of delight that brightens with every soothing bite. These round caps and cowbacks take us back to the herd of the heart. A childhood home, one spoonful at a time. So yes, the poem was a request for Skrungle beef fungus. And this was, again, I'm ballparking it, but it was around Stream 40. And we all had a real hoot about that. And then it turned out that I found out that these three guys were pranking me. They weren't from Norway and Afghanistan and across the world. They were from, they're all just from America, just goofing off and pranking streamers and saying ridiculous things in the chat. But what they enjoyed was the play and the playing along that we did together. And so another poem came from that. Because when they told me, they came in the next day and the next stream and they were like, by the way, we're sorry. We were like totally pulling your leg. And I was like, don't apologize. We were having fun. You were pretending to be people and I was playing along. It was exciting. Shenanigans. Take the road less traveled. See the difference in work and play. Taking the game of friendship to a higher level. Inventing characters and countries we have never seen and finding this path. Messing with the human condition was the mission. Dance moves on the map of life. A high score of happiness awaits you at the end. And so we had fun with the shenanigans, and they hung around for probably a good few weeks of streams, just coming in, supporting, requesting, having a good time. Since they moved on, obviously, being in America and doing a 7 a.m. stream every day is hard enough on me. I can only imagine on the people that are watching. So they, a couple of times they'll still tune in. One of the guys still contributes to my Patreon very generously. And it was a hit. It was a real hit. Disco says, and that's what makes you special, my friend. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I thought of how there's a couple of Meaning Wave songs that talk about how, it's important, it's important to take life seriously, because there's people, we're affected by people, but it's also important not to take life seriously. You take it too seriously, you get upset about every little thing. What are you doing? You're just angry all the time. I used to live that way, actually, a lot more. And I used to write a lot more dark poetry. This whole exercise, being on the street, writing poetry for people, has taught me how to be optimistic in poetry. That doesn't mean that I should, have a level of positivity that's toxic. It's just all there. It's celebration. It's excitement. And that is the Shenanigans. Yeah, there's a track that says, don't take life too seriously. Disco wants to tell a story of something that happened this morning. Absolutely. Drop it in the chat, and as it comes in, I will read it out, and we will share the story. I appreciate that, Disco. I do this for the stories. And so it was great because even though their stories were not necessarily the real stories, they absolutely we had a ball of a time. In fact, they came back later on and they were like, I need you to read Skrungle Beef Fungus again. And we read the poem again and just had a good time with it. And that is part of the other thing that I'm kind of doing here is, for a while, and I still am, I like the idea of having an audience. I like the idea of having a very diverse, unified, different group of people in the chat. One of the things that I have committed myself to, and I haven't done yet, is I am going to follow and hang out a lot more in a lot of the other just chatting channels and learn a little bit more about what really makes a channel click like that. Learning about those things so I can bring them more to my channel. But, you know, if it was one of those things that if nobody showed up, I had fun. I celebrated what I was doing. And I just was happy to be here with the typewriter in the morning. And the reality, and I've told this to people before, is that this is the time of the day I write. This is my writing time. I mean, it's funny because I've set aside some time later on this afternoon to do edits. But I don't, like, the fact is I'm so busy during the day, jobs, doing all the other things to try to get gigs and set up my days busking, like, all of that is the business. This is the art. And so being able to just share that and have people share it with me too was a miracle of technology and creation. So disco story. I went into the shop for milk, and I said to the lady, "It's cold, but it's nice to see the light mornings." She said, "Yeah, but dark nights. I hate them." My reply was, "Are you crazy? It makes my disco light shine brighter. There is always a positive in everything." She smiled as I walked away, and I think I hit a nerve with her. It makes my disco lights shine brighter. Where's my paper? I'm inspired. I'm going to write. So we're going to have a writing interlude. I'm going to write a poem about inspired by Disco's story. That's the crazy thing is I don't know if people feel overwhelmed by, like, you know, like I wrote, you know, Disco requested a poem. He requested a poem about disco. I wrote that poem. It's now sitting on your streaming station, I think, right? There's a metaphor somewhere in there, says disco, that is sitting on your streaming station. But like I can write, I will write hundreds of poems about this and that and everything. Like I'll just dive into stories and ideas and so I'm afraid that sometimes I probably come off as a little overwhelming, just because it's like. Welcome, Patrick Smith. We've been recounting memories of my past episodes, ones that most of you guys were not here for, because like I'm talking about fun, crazy stuff that happened in streams 40 to 60 and skrungle bee fungus. That got a highlight. What are these other poems I got? Oh, I got one. Yeah, that one I want to read too. I'll be reading some poems about video games, but I'm going to be writing a quick poem, just inspired by the story that Disco shared in the chat about the night making the disco lights shine brighter, which I just think is absolutely a metaphor, more than a metaphor, but the truth. Now, if only I could get my audio back. Nope. No. That's great. I'll take that. There we go. If you are just tuning in, we are writing a poem inspired by the story that Disco shared earlier in the chat about lights helping the darkness shine brighter. I'm going to see if I can get the lighting a little better here. Hold on a second. We're going to have some lighting challenges. That's super bright. Good transition music, you knew. Oh. That's good. Wow. Welcome to the stream where we now have lighting cues and I can adjust my lighting. This is new. Shine brighter. Shine brighter. Seeking out the proverbial neon sign, pointing the way through the market. Even the rain droplets reflect the electric running inside our veins. A million shimmering mirrors see all, break down the daily flaws of skin and bone, and turn me into a multitude of flying light bugs, gemstones wealthy with delight, awe and wonder at how the shadows shatter as the sun leaves earlier. Nighttime. The drama pastens. The hero chases the moment to shine brighter than ever before. Thank you for your story, Disco. Shine brighter in honor of Disco's story. And before I forget, let me mark the day. This was. I'll take a picture of it and put it on the Discord, so that you got that. 10/26/20. And this is Twitch. Steve. This is what I need to do more. Where I mark down where these poems from, because when I looked back at my whole archive, I couldn't I didn't know which poems were from June because I didn't mark them. I was so bummed out because I wanted to read really old poetry. Again, if you're tuning in, we are celebrating 100 days. I have Claire's poem on standby in case she drops into the chat. Otherwise, I am going to save that for tomorrow, only because I want to make sure that we celebrate our 100th stream today. But if she does pop in, then I will work on the first draft of her actual Salford poem. But yeah, so some of the things that we've shared is we talked about skrungle beef fungus. We talked about a couple of punks punking me and joking around about being from all over the world when in fact they were just right from my backyard. But having a good time and celebrating the stream with them regardless. Now, one of the things that absolutely is I expected more of it. I've kind of drifted towards hanging out more with the DJs, and I'm more than happy about that. But I always thought that I would have to prepare myself for video gamers. Video game poetry. I have a friend of mine that we are summoning Claire 15. We're calling her out of the abyss. Claire 15. Yeah. Thank you so much, DJ Kenny K. Really appreciate your kind words. DJ Kenny K says you are welcome in the DJ community. What is cool, and I've written some cool poems about DJing, including the one that is currently sitting with Disco. But some of the cool things about kind of getting on here and being prepared is I kind of brushed up a bit on my video game poetry. And so this poem was for one of that crew of people who played Call of Duty all the time. And I watched a couple of his streams and then wrote this to celebrate his own stream. The title of the poem is Duck and Cover. Scoping out the competition, shots fired across the courtyard in the rapid rehearsal of war. Where to go? What angle as bullets fly through columns, ricochet and rumble in the jungle of justice? If you miss your mark will not miss you. Comrade of calamity will stop the enemy if we stick together. Letting the directions, voice over internet sentence, send the volley right, left, down the middle, course to explosive victory. That is Duck and Cover, inspired by some Call of Duty streamers. So that so from there, I just kept writing. I started working on slowly improving the stream and adding more readings to it. I now include a lot more reading of other poets. DJ Kenny K says, we share the commonality that you are the poetic with spoken written word. We aim to be poetic in telling story with the tracks we play. I love that. And that is absolutely true. There is a an intuning and a rhythm that comes with poetry that also comes with DJing, and I should actually reverse that it really, DJing is more of a originator of that. The one of the DJs that I follow is doing he's playing background while doing we're doing an audiobook reading. So he does DJing behind the audiobook reading, playing low beats and bringing things in and kind of meshing the music, and he has to kind of predict a little bit what the story's going to do. I don't think he might have read the book a long time ago. I don't know, but the fact is he has to be ready for when to kind of adjust and change those chords and the effects that happen with it. I am fascinated with the transitions that happen as well, and poetry is all transitions. We have Claire's 15. She is popping in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Expand your horizons, Claire 15. Welcome. We summoned you. You are here. If you are only popping in, I wanted to make sure that you had time to see me work on the first draft of your Salford poem. She said I'm normally here already. So we successfully can summon Claire from the internet abyss. Claire, do you have time for me to work on writing a rough draft for your Salford poem live on the stream, or do we want to do that? I see yes. So we can do that. We can do that then. I'm gonna pop in. All right, we're going for it. So one of the things that this stream absolutely specializes in is, of course, creating poetry on the spot. And working through edits and being it's two things. It's a place for requests. Anybody can request anything anytime. It's a couple of things, actually. So it's a great place to be able to request. And that was always the intention, is having this be the proverbial street corner where anybody can come by, anybody can request a poem from anywhere. It's interesting because it's not a common idea, so people don't get it right away. And then a lot of times, and I haven't figured out an answer to this, and it's something I should really put my brain to, is people don't know what to request when I say request anything. I will literally write about anything. My only limitation is I don't do explicit endorsement of political candidates unless I'm personally endorsing them, or I don't. I have to be careful about doing something wildly inappropriate on the internet. Other than that, the entire world is in your hands. I am the Russian bear of your imagination. You can make me type about whatever zaniness, that weirdness that is in your head. I will create it and manifest it. And I always expected that the internet would absolutely destroy me on that, and they haven't yet. So knock on wood. But yeah, so that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is that this is kind of my workspace for when I get requests outside of Twitch. So 2 streams ago, I wrote a couple of poems for a wedding planner on the stream and kind of described what I was doing with my process. And then it's also just a place where other people can share their poetry. So we had Spencer of Grove in here, and I've read some of his poems. He writes sonnets. If you look him up, Spencer Barrett, on a website I think it's called Vocal, you'll be able to see and even tip him for his work. That's something that I haven't even touched yet. I got to get into that. And that's one big plan, is I really want to celebrate other poets, have each week dedicated to a poet, and have people be able to submit poems to this channel. Long-term goal, if there's enough money coming into this channel to be able to support me being able to just keep it going, then I might be able to even put some back into supporting artists and turn this into a pseudo literary journal, which I've always wanted to have my own literary journal. I always wanted to highlight the poets that weren't getting highlighted by big academic literary journals. And if there's enough money coming into the channel, when I have subscriptions set up, when Twitch finally stops being bureaucratically stupid, then we could compensate other poets. You know, my first time being compensated for poetry was when I was busking on the walking wall. I had written, my wife had the crazy idea that I do it. I went out to the walking wall around Valentine's Day. I wrote this one woman a poem about Moon River. She walked away, she came back, she handed me a 20. Now, I don't think that I'm an amazing poet, but the fact is that in that moment, I made more poetry from one poem than I had done from working on publishing and submitting to hundreds of places. I had made more money in that moment than I had done my entire life before as a writer. And I knew I was onto something. And I want to be able to share that experience with other people because people really value that unique experience with poetry. Let's get into the Salford poem. I need to get some music running, and then we will be good to go. This one plays a little too often. And there we go. All right. So Claire, you could tell me in the chat now if you want, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say you either know enough about or appreciate Lord of the Rings. I'm gonna run with that. And if it doesn't work, that's perfectly fine. It is your poem. By that emoji, I don't know if I've struck right. I'm going to kind of have this background image of the Shire from Lord of the Rings. You know, Lancashire and Yorkshire. DJ Kenny says, before she passed, my sister was a poet. I have an original she wrote for me and my wife in my wedding album. That's wonderful. If you ever feel comfortable sharing her poetry, I'd love to read it out loud on the stream. But I know that's probably very personal, what she wrote and what her writing was. Yeah, we're sorry for your loss, but the wonderful thing about poetry and her writing is that it's immortalized in your family, and she will always be known as a poet in your family. Well, that's absolutely wonderful. My camera's a little off. Let's fix that. think I might need to work on my ink. Problem with this ribbon is that it does not catch when it reaches the end of its cycle. Don't know why. I want to let you know, Claire, that I very quickly abandoned the Lord of the Rings thing, and it's not just because it doesn't seem like it's a thing to you. It also is not a thing to this poem. Would have used the I was typing and I typed the word labors, and I was going to I realized I should have put it in as the British spelling. Almost done. It's come out really well in my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I forgot to turn off my light again. Huh. So now you can see better the poem. I think this is it. There we go. A little better. All right, I hope I captured it. This is an amalgamation of just how nice Claire 15 is with the history. Working more with the metaphor of the river. It needs a better title, and I'm going to retitle it, and I'm going to read it out. See, Claire is still here. She's still here? Great, cool. That light just turned off on me. Don't know why that happened. Cool. I'm just going to call it Salford for now. It just captures it. I think that this is a fantastic idea. Twitcher or Alex, would you, if you happen to have the time this morning, because I know, oh, it's already 8 o'clock, holy heck. If you know of any good just chatting channels that are actually running right now, I'm going to take a look too, but make sure my laptop doesn't die because that would be even worse. But if you happen to see something, that would be great. Alrighty. Claire, are you ready for your poem? Salford. And again, this is still a rough draft. I gotta clean it up a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with what I'm set to read. And let me just mute this. Twin rows of houses open their hearts to you. Across a river of history, letting 800 years be water under the quay's millennium, including the cannon fire over Parliament and the pitch. You always stood apart, stood proud even in tough times, but held hands with an united city life in the countryside dream. Through the heartache and hard work, you painted a picture of love's labors found in the factory floor. Lowry making those smokestacks rise and fall like the relations, the value of the pound. The prospects in pain as your children escape the blitz's rain. And every morning you wake up with the same cheery, chiseled smile. Welcome, you say, to everyone regardless of the high-rises and middle-aged rivals. Welcome to Salford. I hope you like it. Really reaching there. And one day I'll hopefully visit and be able to go and really be able to, oh wow, we got hearts in the chat. Claire, that means so much. That means so much. I really appreciate that it looks like it's gone over well. Oh, you guys are awesome. Well, what I will do is, so this will, I'll retype it, turn it into something on the nice paper, and then I already have your address and I have your other poem here, and then I'll just send them right off. I just say raid to someone relatively small, so you'll have a fairly noticeable impact on the stream you're going to see. Chances are they'll come back to see you. So yes, so what we are going to do is I am doing searching because I appreciate you, Twitcher Alex, for taking a look. I need to figure out how to look at the just chatting. Here we go. And we're going to go and we're going to visit someone that's doing just chatting. Now the thing is when I look at the just chatting, I see so many different things. Like that's the thing is just chatting is kind of like Twitch's other. There's a couple people just watching Futurama. There's people being terrified. There's people watching football, soccer. Well, I'm really glad that you enjoyed the poem, Claire 15. All right, let's see. Can I sort this list? Come on, sort and filter. That's what I want. I want views high to low, apply. So now we have the highest views here. And let's drop down. Just keep scrolling as we go. Slowly see less and less views. Look at this. Just going through the phone. It's football, not soccer. Well, we have to decide whether our language preference in the chat here is British or American. Wow, there is a lot of people in here. This is a lot of streamers. This is so many streamers doing the just chatting. Oh my goodness. All right, we're slowly getting down to the bottom. Because I gotta also sort through all of the... I probably should do some investigating before we do this. So let us instead... yeah, exactly. So we might not do a raid this morning. I'm just thinking that I don't know where we're gonna land. We're down to 30 viewers. And some of these people look interesting, and some of these people look like, yeah, I think that I do not know what I would be carrying myself into. Yeah, like what is going on here? There's a lot of weirdness in here. Okay, but sounds like that I'm gonna need to do some. So close your eyes and just choose one. Well, I gotta choose one with English. That's a one requirement. I'm going to just go with the next one that looks like it's English, which is actually getting to be really hard because most of these people look like they're Korean. God bless Korea. You guys are really active right now. Nobody with a typewriter. We have a guy eating food in Japan. No. Wait, hold on a second. Monday Motivation. It's the Danny C show. I think I can rock this. Let's see. 10 viewers. I'm willing to give this a shot. Alrighty. Hold on a second. Let me just see how he's doing a little bit. And yeah, so we might have found someone. Cuckoo Kachu. So Twitcher Alex has found somebody. I am going to the we have a lot of people that are being recommended now. So we have a writer, Greg, or Ashes of Authority. I have someone that's called the Danny C Show. Looks like they're talking about technical stuff, but thank you so much for staying for the raid. Let's see. I'm going to trust Twitcher Alex on this one. Cuckoo Kachu. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to do something interesting for the 100th stream. We're going to go and we're going to raid another Just Chatting channel that I have never seen before. The great thing about doing poetry on Twitch is that we get to celebrate the stories. We get to celebrate Salford. We get to celebrate positive interactions in a grocery store. We get to celebrate an artist trying to make his way. DJs and everybody. Good morning, Calais. We're about to do a raid on a Just Chatting channel that I've never seen before. We get to do things like that. Like, that's the great thing about just living life and having fun. Like, and poetry is all about taking that just life experience and playing with words to bring beautiful meaning to it. So as always, you're always welcome. You're always welcome to share what you're doing in life, to tell your stories, hopes and fears here. It's a beautiful place for us to just gather and have fun. So I'm going to set up the raid. Up, Cuckoo went offline. So we are going to. What is this guy doing here? Why does it say? I don't want it on the. Here, hold on a second. Hold on a second. What are we doing? I think he's playing video games, even though it's just chatting. I'm gonna find someone. People are watching Supernatural. Yeah, just give me coffee. That's. I think we're just gonna end the channel because I want to make sure I do not want to raid unquality content. So I just want to thank everybody here, and really appreciate you being here. I saw suggestions, Leaky. I'm not gonna. So writer Gregor, Ashes of Authority. I'm just gonna search for Ashes of Authority and see if he's writing right now. And if he is, then we're gonna raid the writer. Otherwise, we're gonna just end it there. Ashes of Authority. Ashes of Authority is live. Indeed, he is writing with 11 viewers, so we're going to raid him. Thank you all for being here. And thank you so much for celebrating. We're going to raid Ashes of Authority, who's a writer. I don't even know what he's writing, but he is definitely writing. So let's... All right, here we go. Thank you again for being an amazing audience, an amazing poetic audience. And thank you again, Twitcher Alex. Thank you, everybody, for your help. We are off warp speed now.
With 6 viewers. Oh my god, more. Oh wow, thank you so much for the raid and for the follow. Oh, Steve Disco Newsome, thank you for the follow. Thank you.